Hello! So today I wanted to design the big baddie or villain in my game, Thomas Cromwell. Now as my TTRPG game is based on time of Anne Boleyn's incarceration at the Tower, Thomas Cromwell, for those who don't know, was part of the plot that put her there. He was also likely the one who made up the whole conspiracy in the first place. So yeah, it's safe to say he would have been Anne Boleyn's #1 enemy, besides the king of course. Oh, and the reason he created the conspiracy was so that the king could move on and marry Jane Seymour, and also at the same time repair the damage done to a relationship between Spain and France over the split with the Catholic Church, which happened because he wanted to marry Anne and divorce his previous wife, Catherine of Aragon. Anyway, enough history, let's get back to the fun bit. As part of my game, I'm hoping to create cardboard miniatures, or at the very least character cards, that GM can use while they are running the game. For reference, I'm using the main portrait of Thomas Cromwell that hangs in the National Portrait Gallery. The artist who painted this portrait is Hans Holbein the Younger, and he was famous for painting several portraits of King Henry VIII's wives. Most famously though, his fourth wife, Anne of Cleves. Unfortunately or fortunately for Anne though, her real life appearance didn't match up to her portrait, so good old King Henry VIII, the old charmer, annulled their marriage. She didn't do too badly out of it though, provided she went quietly, which she did. For her, well, compliance I suppose. She gained a property and generous allowance for the rest of her life. I think he also called her his beloved sister, so make of that what you will. So yeah, she was much luckier than the previous Anne, that's for sure. As I'm working more on the sketch, I'm thinking about the character I want Cromwell to be. I don't want to make him magical, so maybe a sorcerer or wizard. Sorcerers tend to either be born with magical powers, or are exposed to some force which bestows magical powers upon them. Alternatively, wizards tend to get their power from intentionally learning magic, and they also choose a school of magic that they want to study. Now, as Cromwell was a statesman and lawyer, I was tempted to make him a wizard, as wizards tend to be scholarly and academic, due to them choosing to study magic. However, I like the idea of him being a sorcerer and secretly using his magic to influence others. Because sorcerers are natural magic users, they have high charisma, which fits in with Cromwell being a shrewd statesman and in a position of influence and power. Wizards, on the other hand, score high in intelligence because they have to study and understand magic through actively learning it. I may later change my mind though, as he could easily rely on his intelligence rather than charismatic ability to move up through the ranks of court and impress Henry VIII. I also need to be careful that I don't make this character too easy or too difficult for the players. Spellcasters can be tricky in combat, as they tend to have a lower HP but more damaging powerful spells. So I need to strike a balance between giving him enough HP while also ensuring he doesn't end up wiping out my players with nasty spells. Because I want this to be a level 3 player game, I'm going to give Cromwell a challenge rating of 3. I may later add a few minions to support him if I think this is too low, or if he gets destroyed too quickly during a test run. I quite like the idea of having spies that feed information back to him about the players, as this gives him a specific advantage over them. It also fits in very well with how the plot to remove Anne Boleyn unfolded, as he used a lot of spies to gather information about her. Some say he likely also bribed her ladies-in-waiting to make up stories about how she betrayed the king. Also, the more I think about it, I think I may change my mind and make Cromwell a wizard. I was reading more about the different sorcerer subclasses, and none of them seem to really fit with what I have in mind for the character. However, with wizards, there are several subclasses I am drawn to. The School of Enchantment seems particularly suited to Cromwell, as it's all about entrancing and beguiling other people. I could really make use of the spell Charmed in combat, or as a way to learn more about the players. And as Cromwell will be level 7, I think he also gets access to Instinctive Charm, which is a great defensive reaction against attacks. The School of Illusion is another area of magic I think would really suit Cromwell, as this type of magic is all about trickery and deception. At Cromwell's level, he'll be able to cast illusion spells and use actions to change the illusions as a feat. As much as I enjoy playing necromantic characters, I don't think I could make him a necromantic wizard. It would add an interesting twist to the game though, and if I was including more horror fantasy, that could have been a worthwhile option. But for now, I think the School of Enchantment and Illusion best suit my storyline. Here I'm just popping Cromwell into a new page, which will form the basis of my villain planning. I'm also going to have a look through Volvo's Guide to Monsters to see if they have any interesting wizard NPCs that I can use or take inspiration from. The first wizard that caught my eye was an enchanter. Now unfortunately this NPC came with a challenge rating of 5 and it's designed as a 9th level spellcaster. It's a bit too advanced for my players to say the least. Luckily though, I stumbled on this illusionist NPC, which has a challenge rating of 3 at a 7th level, which is perfect. They may be a bit on the powerful side, but I think it's manageable. Plus I can always tweak things a little if Cromwell is too much of a challenging villain to face. I also quite like the spell Phantom Steed, as I can imagine Cromwell casting this and chasing down my players in the dungeon. Now I'm taking the illusionist stat block and creating a standalone document that I can put into my game journal. I'm really happy so far, as the cantrips look pretty decent as well. An old favourite of mine is Poison Spray, which can be particularly nasty, with 1d12 of damage. With a rough idea of what my Cromwell character is going to be, I'm going to stick that stat block in my journal next to the portrait. I'm going to tweak this later, but I'm happy with this first basic outline so far. I definitely want to research more spells though and choose the best ones that are most relevant to his character. Next time I'm thinking of designing the main protagonist, Anne Boleyn. Stay tuned for that. That's all for today's video, and I'll let this smooth jazz piano play to the end while I finish this page.